Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verses 1 through, we're actually going to read through verse 17 this morning. For those of you who'd like to follow along with the Bibles in your pews, it can be found on page, finding out right now, 837. The Bible in your pew is the Revised Standard Version of the Bible.
That is often what we read when we read Scripture here together in our sanctuary. I think it's just important every once in a while to check in and make sure you know where the words you're reading come from. So that's where these words come from. This is the beginning of the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus' first public teaching according to Matthew. Seeing the crowds, he went up on the mountain, and when he sat down, his disciples came to him, and he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when men revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven, for so men persecuted the prophets who were before you. You are the salt of the earth. But if salt has lost its taste, how shall its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trodden underfoot by men. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hid. Nor do men light a lamp and put it under a bushel, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. Think not that I have come to abolish the law and the prophets. I have come not to abolish them, but to fulfill them." The word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. I recently made a new friend. His name is Tennyson. And Tennyson lives in Utah. And Tennyson told me about Fish Lake National Park in south central Utah. And in Fish Lake Park, there is a particular kind of aspen. And he was telling me about how there's this whole section of the park. You can walk around about 100 acres and see 40,000 of these beautiful aspen trees. They have this really remarkable gold leaf. They have these incredible gray trunks that look kind of like charcoal. And he said you can just get lost for hours and you never get tired or bored of wandering around and seeing the beauty of each and every one of these trees. Some of them are old and dying. Some of them are young and just beginning to sprout leaves for the first time. All of them are unique and beautiful in their own way. And then Tennyson said this. He said, the most amazing thing about these trees is that you can walk around there forever, admiring their beauty, and you'll never actually see what makes them so incredible. Because what actually makes these trees incredible is underground. It turns out these aren't 40,000 different trees that were planted with their own roots. These are 40,000 trees that have sprouted from one giant root colony. They're part of the largest known living organism on Earth. It's called Pando. And so Pando is this network of deeply connected roots that sprout trees up into the world. The root system is said to weigh as much as 6 million kilograms, making it one of the heaviest, largest single organisms ever found. The individual trees get all the attention. But what's visible to our eye, what gets our attention, points directly to a deeper, more complex reality, just under the surface. This last week was the 15th anniversary of Facebook. Like I had to tell you. I'm sure you all had parties. We all made cakes. We all celebrated 15 years of Facebook. Atlantic Magazine helped to celebrate the anniversary with a series of essays about how Facebook has changed the world by offering the promise of connection with others, but only able to give us surface-level, simple connections. Simple connections with others that are easily made and of little consequence. On Facebook, you can easily be connected to hundreds of people without ever really having to work with or communicate with any of them. You may get instant updates and photos about important events in the lives of others, graduations, job promotions, weddings, babies, without ever actually understanding what those events mean to the person posting. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that Facebook is bad. I would never say it. It's not necessarily for me, but it's not bad. I have an uncle who I love very much who has muscular dystrophy. He can't leave his house. Without Facebook, he would have very little community in his life at all. So he spends a lot of time on Facebook. He does the hard work of actually getting to know people, of actually asking questions about the pictures he sees, reading more than just the headline of articles or long posts. What my uncle has taught me is that there's nothing bad about Facebook, but in order to have something deeper than just these simple surface connections, it takes just as much work online as it takes in real life. And the way the whole social network thing is designed, it doesn't necessarily invite us to go deeper. It invites us to stay at this surface level where we feel like we know what's going on in the lives of other people. And as long as we feel that way, that's fine. We miss out on the complex, deeper reality just beneath the surface. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't see a headline or a tweet or a post about some kind of surface-level interaction between humans here in our country. A group of white kids from a Catholic school in Kentucky surrounding a group of Native American protesters. A black gay man brutally attacked and beaten by a group of white men yelling racial and homophobic epithets. A Muslim man on death row denied the presence of his imam, forced to share company with the prison's Christian chaplain in his final moments on earth. I read a story not too long ago about a kindergartner, a little girl. She was black, and she was proudly dancing through her classroom, announcing that she had black girl magic. And apparently, for some reason, this made some of the white girls around her start crying. And the teacher's response to this situation was to call the black girl's parents and have a word with them about their disruptive daughter. These are surface-level stories. These are tragic events where we hurt one another when we get trapped at the surface, when we only see these visible markers of our identities. And we don't do the work of getting to know the deeper, more complex truth that's just waiting, just beneath the surface. Jesus' first public teaching is known as the Sermon on the Mount, and it's a sermon that begins with a powerful poetic opening, which we call the Beatitudes, a Latin word that means blessed. Jesus speaks these first words to his followers, addressing them as they appear in the world, their visible, surface-level identities. The poor, those who mourn, the meek, the merciful, those who hunger and thirst, those who are wrongfully accused, and those who are persecuted for the sake of righteousness. The world has judged and condemned all of these people, all of these individuals, specifically because of what they look like, because of what they have to offer or not offer the rest of the world. They are insufficient. They're lacking worth. They are distraught and despairing, weak, uppity, whining, up to no good. These are the people causing problems in the world. These are the people who are told constantly that the world would be better without them. So Jesus speaks to these surface level identities. He calls them by name, and he offers them a new word: blessed. Blessed. However the world has marked you, whatever insufficiencies you have, however you may be incomplete, Jesus says you are blessed. You are beloved. With this one word, Jesus demolishes the simplistic, surface-level environment in which these people live, in which they've been trapped their entire lives. And Jesus immediately invites them into deeper, more complex understandings of themselves. They are not just poor, they are not just weak, they are not just kind and downtrodden and oppressed, they are not just immigrants and refugees, they are also blessed. There's deeper layers to them. There's more complexity to who they are. To fully understand why this teaching is important, we actually have to do some deeper work of our own. The Beatitudes, as I just read them out of our Bible, those are translated from the Greek. So the Gospel of Matthew was originally written in Greek. And the translators of the Revised Standard Version of the Bible took the Greek text and they wanted to translate word for word, as literally as they could, what the Greek says into English so we could read it just as it is in the Greek. That was their goal, that was their mission, that's what they did. But if we start scratching at the surface, if we start looking just below, we start realizing that there are deeper realities, more complex truths to this teaching. Because we know that while the script may have been written in Greek, Jesus himself would have spoken Aramaic. And wouldn't you know that Eastern Orthodox Church has actually preserved a copy of this exact sermon written in Aramaic? And when you start to translate these words from the original language they were spoken in, you get a different understanding of what this teaching is. Right now, as we read it, it sounds like a pep talk more than anything. It sounds like good news to the poor. You'll go to heaven someday. It's very passive, and it's very indirect in how the rewards will come. Right? So that first one, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. That's from the Greek. But if we translate it from the Aramaic, as the artist, scholar Neil Douglas Klotz did, we get this possible interpretation of that exact same line. Happy and aligned with the one are those who find their home in the breathing. To them belong the inner kingdom and queendom of heaven. It's quite different. Did you hear one of the important differences? I'll read it one more time. Here's from the Greek, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And from the Aramaic, happy and aligned with the one are those who find their home in the breathing. To them belong the inner kingdom and queendom of heaven. It doesn't say that heaven is found somewhere out there, sometime in the future. It says that heaven is a place we can locate right now. And it's not just a kingdom, it's not just patriarchal, it's not just set up to be some kind of hierarchy. It can also be a queendom, a community, a household. And it's available to us right now, located in the breathing. The good news of the gospel is that the visible surface level identities of these people lead directly to a deeper, more complex reality lying beneath the surface. The good news is that if Jesus' disciples are willing to connect on a deeper, more complex level, heaven can be found right here among us. Jesus calls all these disparate people together to teach them that they are deeply connected to one another simply because they were all created by God. The deepest, most complex truth in human existence is that all of us are actually one. We are one in God, our Creator. This is why the great commandment to love God and love neighbor as yourself, it's because we're actually one thing. It's why we're called to love our enemies as well as our neighbors and friends. It's why we're taught whatever you do to others will be done to you. Because we are actually deeply connected in that way. What I do to you, I do to myself. What I do for myself, I do for you. We are one organism. But our attention often goes to our differences. It's like seeing all the trees and missing the underground community. Whatever you think of yourself, you are more complex than that. You have hidden depth. You have layers of complexity. And at the bottom of all of them is a light that God put in you before you were born, a light that is meant to shine out into this world. That's true of you. And whenever you interact with another human being, you have to know that whatever you think of them, they are also more complex than that. They also have hidden depth. And at the bottom of all of it, at the inner core of all of it, is a light that God put in them before they were born that was meant to shine out into this world. That's what it means to be an open and affirming church. It's a place where we call each other to our depths, to let those lights shine. To not be stuck in the surface world of simple connection. The word, the phrase, the term, whatever, organized religion, ooh, it's not in favor in our time. And why should it be? Even those of us in this church have a really negative concept in our mind about what organized religion is. Our surface level understanding of organized religion is that it's an institution that has predominantly made people feel bad about themselves. That's the surface level, and it's true. That's what's visible. Organized religion has made itself visible in the world by attacking and demeaning and judging others, condemning them. But if we just start scratching at the surface, if we just start going a little bit deeper, a little bit more complex with organized religion, we immediately have to ask a question. What kind of religion are we talking about? The word religion literally just means to do again. You can be a religious Netflix watcher. You can exercise religiously. It just means you do the same thing over and over and over again. So what kind of religion are we talking about? How are we organizing? Organizing for what purpose? Friends, at this open and affirming church, our religion is that you don't get to be human unless I get to be human. And I don't get to be free unless you are free. My light doesn't shine brightly unless your light shines brightly. That's our religion. That's what we do over and over and over again. And whenever we organize, whenever we gather, we are doing it specifically and solely for that purpose. I know it seems like we're talking about budgets, and I know it seems like we are making plans for dinners and we're making soup, and it seems like those are the things we're doing, but what we're actually doing is allowing space for everyone to shine brightly as God created them to do. I wonder where our tradition would be, where our church would be, where our world would be, if we had spent the last several hundred years celebrating how deeply connected we all are and shining brightly together, rather than judging and condemning one another for the surface level differences. But friends, I have good news for you. This is an invitation Jesus offers again and again and again, every single day, every single moment we are alive. We don't have to stay stuck in this surface place. We are given the gift of community, the gift of one another. We can go deeper together, and we can teach and learn together about how to shine these bright lights that are placed inside us. To be the light of the world, overpowering the darkness that this world tries to present as truth. There's an African proverb: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. This is only work we can do together. And the Beatitudes isn't just a pep talk. It's not just some nice words about how you should feel good about being you. When we listen to the deeper teaching of this, we realize that it's important work that each of us have to do. Each of us have been given these deeper gifts that we have to explore and practice using, or we never find heaven together. So come, friends, let us practice shining. Let's light up this world until heaven is found right here on earth. Amen.